Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Almighty Allah, the entirely merciful and especially merciful. Dear viewers across the planet, I greet you with the greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm here to remind you that don't forget to use it as much as you can. At least every day you use it many times, in many occasions, in every occasion that you come across, that you have in your workplace, everywhere in the street, everywhere in the marketplace, even at home and your house, with your kids, with your spouse, with your neighbors, everyone use it. Spread peace, as our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us. Dear viewers, today we are going to learn a very short verse, but again, it's a source of comfort. As any verse in the Quran, it's a source of comfort. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created these hearts and these minds and sent to us these verses to address them. The best thing to address our minds and to address our emotions are the verses from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here is one verse that's very essential for all of us as human beings. We use it and we know it and we seize it and we need to practice it. This verse talks about using the desires and whims. Versus using knowledge. And I mean here, when you use knowledge, I mean here specifically knowledge that is given to us from Almighty Allah. Because others that are man-made knowledge, they can be sometimes wrong, sometimes they can be right, they may change, but the knowledge that we get from Almighty Allah does not. No way that we can change it. So let's see this verse first. It's ayah number 119, Surah Al-An'am, the cattle. Chapter called Cattle, the cattle. Ayah number 119. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وإن كثيرا ليضلون بأهوائهم بغير علم. Meaning, indeed, a lot here, a lot of humans, they will deviate when they use their whims and desires without knowledge. And here, as I mentioned earlier, knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you live, if you live in this life, you see this person, the educator, the other person is a congressman, the third one is a politician, a fourth one is a scientist, anyone. A lot of people who have a lot of education. But here, the verse is very important because it says that a lot of humans, and a lot can be as many as 5, or can be as many as millions, or it can be as many as billions. It can be as many as 99%, even more. If all humans depend mainly on using their whims and desires, they will deviate. If they don't have knowledge from Almighty Allah. Be careful. A person, an orator, a very good speaker, an outspoken person, a researcher, a presenter, a media person. All these professors and all these researchers across the globe, the possibility of deviating, the possibility of saying something wrong is very high. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. If they use their desires without evidence, they don't have evidence. They don't present to us solid evidence from the Quran or from the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They don't have this background. So the possibility that they will deviate, they will fail, is very high. Even if they got the highest titles in this world, in their countries, or in the organization, the head of this organization, or the head of the UN, or the head of the UNESCO, or the head of this or that. We all the time hear that. All the time. We have to focus on their evidence. If they have evidence, if they present us evidence based on knowledge from Almighty Allah, from the Quran, we have the Quran. It is available everywhere. Or from the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the risk is very limited. Otherwise, the risk is very high that they will fail. They will destroy. Their ideas are not good ideas. The criteria for judging any idea that it is good, or any suggestion or any solution that it is good or bad, is the evidence. And the evidence for us, for believers, is based on the Quran and the Sunnah. Wow, it's so deep because it is from the Creator. And when we read, as I mentioned in the previous episode, yes, when we read the attributes and the qualities of this Creator, that He is, one of them is Al-Alim, the all-knowing. He's the one who knows everything. How can you live and ignore what He said, and you think that you will be successful? There's no way. It doesn't make sense. You live in His world. You eat the food that He provided you with. You enjoy everything that He gave you. He is the one who gave us your minds and your thinking and your ideas and your thoughts and everything that you have, yet you don't want to use them. You're ignoring them. Can you be safe? You cannot. Can you be sound? No. Not only He is Al-Alim, but He is Al-Hakim. The wise. No one has the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when He changes the weather, when He changes the direction of the water, when whatever He does, He has all the wisdom to do it. Even when He causes volcanoes or earthquakes or anything that happens, He has the wisdom behind that. So He has the knowledge and He has the wisdom. He is the one who knows what happens here and there and over there and over there and everywhere in every spot in this universe at the same time. Do you know anyone who has this ability except Almighty Allah? The answer is no. So therefore, if you don't have these qualities and these attributes, the possibility of making mistakes because you are not aware of what's happening there. You may take a decision that's good for this place. but you are ignoring all other places and all other spots. And therefore, your decision is very limited. It's useless. And the possibility of having failure is very high. The risk of making problems is getting more and more and more. And that's what is happening in the world, because they base their knowledge on their own information, their human-made information, and the possibility of having incorrect things. And we have seen that many examples, hundreds and thousands of examples. And that's why, for example, look at the easy things. Look at the curriculum that's taught. At schools. They change it committee after committee after committee after committee, hundreds of committees. They sit down, they discuss, they come up with, according to their own judgment, that this is the best curriculum. Then all of a sudden, after 2 years, they discover that this was not the best. It's missing here and here and there. Some other people come from different places and they say, oh, no, no, you forgot this and you forgot this. And they are human. And we forget the wisdom that says that to err is human. This is it. This can be implied. This is one of the implications of this verse. When people depend on their own, totally on their own ideas and education and abilities, the possibility of making mistakes is very high. The risk is very high. You have to acknowledge this. In order to live in a more comfortable world, you have to have this in your background. And that's what I referred to. It is the right of every human being to know these facts. Any human being, we need to teach human beings these things. All of them would be very well educated. How can you base your theories, your ideas, without having knowledge from your Creator? Call him whatever. We call him Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's your right to call him God, to call him whatever. Yes. His name is Allah. How can you live in a world without knowing the guidelines that he sent you to live comfortably in this life? And this is the meaning of Islam. Submitting yourself to the guidelines and to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because he is Al-Alim, and he is Al-Hakim, and he is Al-Khabir, and he is, and so on and so forth. So all these are basics of sound life in this world. If we want to live a sound life, if we want to live a happy life, we cannot live while we are using our own desires and whims. بغير علم من Allah, away from knowledge from Almighty Allah, definitely we will lose. We will have total destruction at a certain time. And if you can look at what's the world going on now, a world, try to imagine that based on the human knowledge and the human experience, World War II, for example, that's the experiments of and the experience of some humans. Among them is Mr. Hitler. Yes, 50 million casualties. 50 million people died in the Second World War because they got their knowledge, they got their information based on their own desires, based on their own knowledge, away from the guidelines that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them. And this will happen and re-happen and re-happen, and it happens everywhere and every time, at all times. When you scan history, and scan all these problems and explosions and wars and fights that took place on this planet in several places, all of them were because of this verse, a lot of them deviated, made wrong decisions. All people will make wrong decisions. All of us, no exception, me and you and him and her and all of us, will make wrong decisions as long as we are basing our decisions upon our own experiences, our own desires, our own background. This is not. It should be something different. If we base our decisions on the knowledge that we get from Almighty Allah, we guarantee that the world will survive in a better way than it has been. This is the essence of this verse. And the scholars write many pages and many books about that. Just one verse. Try to imagine. Try to make a link between why I called this program is Treasure from the Holy Quran. How much would you pay for learning this experience, for learning this verse? That if you make any project in this universe based on your own knowledge, your own experience, your own desires, it will fail. You will save millions of people's problems and troubles if you learn one verse and you implement. Therefore, we deeply from the bottom of our hearts, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this guidance. And we do ask Him to give us support to spread this guidance to others, to teach it to others, hoping that one day the world will be a better place to live in. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.